full verse in Scripture, besides the fall, and we understand that, is that Israel or the Jews wanted and were given a king. I don't know how this has been so overlooked in Christianity with our covenantal paradigm of interpretation. We project, there's really the Abrahamic covenant. And we in Christianity, especially Protestant, we have this covenant of works, then covenant of grace, and the Noahic covenant obviously is there, and we interpret it differently. And these Christs of the covenants. But when we overlook this reality that these praising people, of course, the time of the judges was a difficult period. And a lot of things went wrong, so we understand because of human free will, the wrong leadership is crucial in any time. So, but still, Israel had a desire. They wanted to be, but the thing is not that they wanted a king or a good leader. Is not the point. They wanted. We got to read the scripture, and it says it all. So please go forward. We got the scripture because it tells us very straight. They wanted to be like the other nations. Is the bottom line, and this is what is kind of really hit home to me in the last times.
Yes. It's a
So
bit of a
just read
problem.
this for us.
Yeah.
I got.
I'll read it for you. Yes, certainly. So Israel demands a king. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as judges over Israel. The name of his firstborn son was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah in English, Abiyahu, and they were judges in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside towards dishonest gain, accepting bribes and perverting justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel in Ramah. Look, they said, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint a king to judge us like all the other nations. And that's the point that Faznab was making just now. They want to have a king to judge them like everybody else. Like everybody else, we want to have a king like everybody else. We want to be like the other nations. But when they said, give us a king to judge us, their demand was displeasing in the sight of Samuel, so he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, listen to the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for it is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king. Just as they have done from the day I brought them out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods. And that's the reference to the tribal deities, to nationalisms. So they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but you must solemnly warn them and show them the manner of the king who will reign over them. So the key point here, I guess, is that the problem is the rejection of God in favor of trying to be like the other nations, to serve gods like the other nations serve their gods. National spirit. They wanted a national spirit like all the other nations have a national spirit. They wanted a national identity like all the other nations have a national identity. And they wanted a king to sort of rally and conjure their national identity and use their national identity and motivate them with the national identity like all the other nations do. And that is really where everything falls down. Because when you start rallying around a national identity and having a leader who drums you up and sort of motivates you with words as a nation like all the other nations do, then you have become pagan. You have forsaken the God, the Father of all creation. You've forsaken that transcendent God, and you've become addicted to a local tribal entity just like all the other nations. And this addiction to tribal entity was what plagued them ever since they were brought out of Egypt, because they were 12 tribes, and each tribe had its own identity, wanted to push its own identity forward. The tribe of Levi was the tribe associated with transcendence. It had transcended national boundaries, tribal boundaries, and was really trying to bring all the other tribes together into this alliance. Later, that grew, of course, and it was the kingdom of Judah which included, as we just mentioned, Benjamin and Simeon, and Judah, of course, and the many Levites were in there, which actually really came close knit together with this transcendent identity of people who worship God, while the other tribes had turned away to other gods, i.e., tribal gods, tribal national identities, and that caused them to fall apart. I wonder if Faznab is there. Are you there, Faznab?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to add anything to what I've said, or
No,
take
I'm
us? Yeah.
just really wanting you to read the next part, because I think it brings us to this day and age that we're, with all the events going on now with Gaza. Just kind of read this with that in mind.
All right. So Samuel spoke all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, "This will be the manner of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them to his own chariots and horses to run in front of his chariots. He will appoint some for himself as commanders of thousands and of fifties, and others to plow his ground and reap his harvest, to make his weapons of war and equip his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be perfumers, cooks, and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and the vineyards and olive groves and give them to his servants. And he will take a tenth of your grain and grape harvest and give it to his officials and servants. And he will take your men servants and maid servants and your best cattle and donkeys and put them to his own use. And he will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. And when that day comes, you will beg for relief from your king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you on that day." Nevertheless, the people refused to listen to Samuel. "No," they said, "we must have a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations." Actually, that's the other goyim as well. The other nations, with a king to judge us and to go out before us and to fight our battles. Samuel listened to all the words of the people and repeated them in the hearing of the Lord. And the Lord said, "Listen to their voice." The Lord said to Samuel, "Appoint a king for them." Then Samuel told the men of Israel, "Everyone must go back to his city." May I just check up the word? I want to see which word is used. This is Samuel. Sorry, which was the
Samuel 8, 1, 1 Samuel 8 verses, for whole chapter, yeah.
Let me get it. I'm checking a
Samuel
Hebrew
8.
word here.
Uh-huh.
1 Samuel 8. And let's see if I can find the word. I didn't click on the... Yeah, I'm going to look for the Hebrew word now. Oops. Sorry, just give me a few minutes while I open this up. Yeah, Israel demands a king. So I'm going to look at the Hebrew behind this this word here. No, they said. Let's have a look and see which word. I wonder if they... Oops. Then we'll be like all the other nations. I wonder if it uses the word umot or goyim here. I can't remember. And look, it says hagoyim. It's terrible, isn't it? So people might not know what goyim is, but goyim is a word which is used for basically non-believers in the Bible. So they're saying we want to be like all the other non-believers. That's the nationalists, the people who worship their tribal entities, their tribal deities, their tribal spirits. So they're saying we want to be like people who worship their tribal spirits. And that's, yeah. So that's what happens. Let's come back to share this again. Okay. So, do you want to carry on?
Well, certainly these warnings that Samuel expresses makes a lot of sense. I think this is the hinge on which the whole Bible swings in our misinterpretation as covenant theologians or dispensationalists, at least in Christianity, and we'll talk more about that.